Good morning. Good morning. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. Good to see everybody here. Good to see everybody
Morning.
here.
Good
Morning.
morning, TJ.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to give a few more minutes for everybody else to join in, and then we're going to kick off today. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody, wherever you're joining me from. Today is day one of, you know exactly what it is. Today is day one of the workplace power leverage sessions. And this is basically a 31-day career accelerator program for value-driven professionals. Now, the goal is pretty simple. By the end of our 31 days together, what I would have succeeded in doing and together is that, look, we would have been able to succeed to help you win at work and succeed in life. Pretty simple and straightforward as that. Now, the way in which it's going to run is that, look, over the course of 31 days, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be giving you effectively 9 leverages that you can use to accelerate your career. Now, over the course of the 31 days, we're going to have different days. For some leverages, we're going to take about 3 days. Some of them it's going to be about 4 days. But overall, by the end of the 31 days, combined with both the active classes that we're going to be taking and the workbook is very important because within the workbook, what you have is you've got a couple of assessments, you've got a couple of homework assignments, a couple of tasks that you need to do on a daily basis. So every day, there are actually tasks and assignments that you need to do. And these will basically strengthen the learning experience, which you're going to be getting during our time together. So it's very important that you keep to it. And so today we're going to be kicking off with the first leverage power that you really have at work, and that is your values. Good. Now, one thing you probably would have heard is that when people define values, I'm going to start with what you call your traditional dictionary definition of your values. Now, what's the your traditional dictionary's definition of your values? Pretty simple and straightforward. It's just the principles or standards of behavior. But look, I'm going to take that definition a little bit longer, because one of the things which most of you been obviously be missing out is the fact that, look, your values are beyond just your principles and values of behavior. Your values are basically what guides your decision making. They basically guide how you show up at work and in life. Literally, your values define your brand. And for most of us, the problem is that we have unconsciously allowed ourselves to define our value, or to our values to be defined. And let me explain that better. So, for example, let's imagine you grew up in a family of basically teetotalers. They don't drink, alcohol is basically a no-no with among them. Effectively, you find yourself adopting that same value unless you probably change the environment in which you find yourself in. And so automatically what you're doing is you're just basically transferring whatever the values of the environment is, you're transferring it to yourself. And this basically happens in literally every aspect of life. You find out that, for example, when you are within a particular group of people, when you are within a certain class of people, you behave in a particular way. And what I want to do is this: I want to take beyond those unconscious abilities that you take, those unconscious experiences that have formed and framed the way in which you behave. I want you to take it beyond that. And what I want you to do is I want you to actively begin to define your values. Because what you don't realize is that, look, if you don't actively define your values, you will end up in situations whereby there's a dissonance between the way you want to behave and what you are feeling on the inside. Let me explain that better. So, for example, you want to behave in a particular way, but you find yourself, as you are behaving in that particular way, there is something inside of you that is telling you that, look, this is not the way in which you want to behave. And this is not tied to the lines of integrity. So, for example, not the fact that, you've been asked to do something which is completely wrong. That's completely different. I mean, this actually takes it a notch higher. Basically, what I'm hoping that you're going to do by the end of today is you're going to embrace life congruence, because unless you behave in a way that is congruent to your highest values, what you find out is that, look, you will never be able to bring your best self to every single situation that you bring yourself. Now, a couple of weeks back, I made a post on social media. I said, look, don't aim for work-life balance. Aim for work-life congruence. Now, some people basically just said, oh, nice, good. Oh, that's very lovely. Only if a couple of persons actually asked me that, look, what does it mean? What's the difference between the two? And that actually provided me a very good experience, a very good opportunity to explain the impact of values in everyday decisions. So I'm going to use a simple example of using this work-life, the quote at the social media post I said of work-life balance. I'm going to use a simple example. So let's imagine before you left work on a particular day, you had agreed with your kid that, look, you were going to show up at an event in their school. And immediately you get to the office, you run into a particular, you get a phone call from a particular customer, and the customer is that, look, there's a very, very urgent and important report, something which you've done for me before. I need you to make an update of it, and please, I need it tomorrow morning. Now, you've got two options available to you. Option number one, you can decide that, look, because this report is going to take the whole day, that means I'm going to effectively cancel the commitment that I had made to my son or my daughter to show up at their school event, so that I can keep to the commitment that I'm about to make to this customer. Because let's say this is a customer in which you have a long-standing relationship with, and because of that long-standing relationship, you cannot just afford to say that, look, you cannot keep to that commitment. And if you are looking on the basis of your standard work-life balance, what you basically be telling yourself is that, look, I have to stay at work, I have to try and keep this, I have to try and complete this. Now, the problem here is this: if you are a person in which your highest values are family and commitment, while you're at work and you're trying to keep to that commitment that you've made to your client, it is very likely that once the time for your son or your daughter's school event comes, your heart begins to palpitate. You begin to feel bad. Why? Because you're feeling that you are missing out on a commitment which you have made. But look, if you want to submit what decision you need to make in that particular situation, if you want to submit it to the power of your highest values, it's pretty simple what you need to do. You can decide for yourself that, look, okay, I have made my commitment to my family. I'm going to keep my commitment to my family because family is high on my list of values. And what you're going to do is, look, at the time when it comes for your son or your daughter's school event, you leave the office, you go, you do that event, you are fully present, you are part of that event. Now, when you get back home, because you've also made a commitment to your client at work, your customer at work, what you also do is you decide you're going to stay back and you are also going to work the night to make sure you deliver that report. Effectively, what you have done is you have moved outside the standard realm of, you keep work at work, you keep home at home life. What you're doing is you are living to your highest values. It basically, and that's the power which values gives to you. It defines in terms of how you show up in every situation. It helps your decision-making process to actually be a lot more simple, because why? You're submitting every aspect of your life to something that is higher, which is your values. Now, there's one thing I want you to do, which is the most important aspect, which you're going to be doing today. I want you to elevate your perception of your values. Now, like I started our conversation today, I said that, look, the problem with most of us is that we've had our values defined on an unconscious level. Simply put, because of the environments that we find ourselves, because of the people that we've hung out with, we've come up with a set of values that we've embraced. Now, the problem with those is that that set of definition is past and present focused. What I want you to do is I want you to elevate your definition of your values by being a little bit more future focused. And what is the future focus that I want you to embrace? I want you to ask yourself two core questions. What is the experience that you want people to have anytime they meet with you? Number two, how do you want people to remember you whenever you leave them after you meet with them? Those are the two core questions you need to ask yourself to be able to elevate your values. Because effectively, once you can answer those questions for yourself, what you are doing here is this: you are moving from defining your values on the premise of the past, the present, the people around you. You are taking active responsibility to define who you want to be remembered as, how you want to show up consistently as. Because what you have to realize is that, look, if you have a strong set of values, you become consistent in terms of how you show up. You don't have to guess or second guess yourself in terms of, oh, how are you going to show up in a particular situation, in a particular environment, in a particular group, with a particular group of people. A couple of years back, with a company that I was working with then, they put us senior team leaders, they put us together for training. I think we'll give or take almost about 20 senior leaders they brought for the training. Now, ahead of the training, they had us be part of a couple of psychometric and personality assessment tests. Now, at the end of the test, they gave us a couple of reports, and the report was actually part of what we were going to be using for the training. Now, during the training, one of the aspects of the report was that there was supposed to be two shapes that were drawn out as a result of whatever it is that you have responded to during the assessment. Now, what the facilitator had said was that, look, the two shapes, they probably will be two different sizes for most of you. I mean, for all of us, he said the two shapes will be different sizes because why? He said, look, the way you show up on your outside and sometimes the way in which you show up on your inside, they may differ per time. Guess what? Tola turned out to be the weird one in that whole class because, as it were, the two images that I had were more or less the same thing. Both the image on the inside and the image on the outside were more or less the same thing. And so I thought I was a weird one. So I was like, excuse me, ma, I think there's a problem. What's the problem with me? It looks like my own shape, both of them are more or less the same thing. And she looked at it and she was like, interesting. It means that you show up consistently as the same person every single time. And there is no variable in terms of, oh, if in this particular situation you show up like this, you show up like this. And she basically threw to everybody, oh, is this how it is with him? And everybody was like, oh, yeah, that's exactly how it is with Tola. The point here is this: the only way in which I was able to have that kind of defined attribute for myself was because I had taken time to actually define what my values were going to be. And so that is going to be your assignment for today. Within the workbook that you've gotten, there's actually an assignment today. And I'm going to give you two motivations for you to take time to actually define what values you want for yourself. One, your ability to define a clear set of values that you want to orientate your life with helps you to minimize conflict. Conflict in terms of when you need to make decisions. Because as long as you can make decisions that align with your highest values, you minimize the conflict. I'm not saying that conflict will not exist. Sometimes to show up for your highest values can actually be difficult, but it reduces the inner lack of congruence. It reduces the dissonance that you may have on the inside, saying that, oh, am I behaving the way that is congruent in terms of how it is that I want to show up, how it is that people should basically realize and experience me. It basically reduces that significantly. The other thing that it also reduces and eliminates for you, it eliminates the lack of consistency in terms of how people experience you. Once you have a core set of values, and let me just give you a guideline in terms of how we're going to be running with this. We're going to be running with the power of your values for about 3 days. And over the course of the 3 days, Today, your primary responsibility is just to define what your core values are going to be. And what I would recommend within the workbook that I've given to you, what I recommend is get at least no more than 5 values and no more than 10. And by tomorrow, we're going to do a bit of work in terms of how it is that we're going to operate with regards to the values. Basically, I'm going to show you, we're going to run through how it is that we're going to basically build up everything. So just to put everything in context, I'm saying that in the center of everything, all for every one of us, I hope you all guys can all see my screen. Sorry, just trying to, good. Yeah, good. So in the center of it all, you have your values. Sorry, you have values. That's the center of it all. And basically what I'm saying is that everything, work, your family, every aspect of life, everything revolves around your values. Whatever it is, everything basically revolves around your values. Once we can get this core, once we can get it right, once you can get your values right, what you basically have is you're able to have congruence in terms of how you show up at work, how you show up in your family, how you show up for friends. We're going to get congruence in terms of how you're going to show up for your friends, how you show up in your social life, how you show up for your community. You're going to get congruence in terms of how we're going to do all that. And so, like I've explained, for today, your assignment is pretty simple. It's very, very straightforward. All I need you to do is I need you to define your values. Now, if you go into your workbook, let me try and pull up your workbook. So it's pretty simple what you need to do. For day one, your responsibility is to define your values. And so you need to carry out a couple of all these activities. This is going to simplify the whole process for you. And for those of you who don't want to print out this document, it's an editable PDF. So you can actually just do whatever it is on your PDF. You can actually answer all the questions on your PDF. You don't necessarily have to print it out. It works perfectly like that. And if you're getting stuck in terms of being able to define what your values are, there's actually a values cheat sheet that is also included in this workbook. You'll find it, I think, on page 30. It's on page 36. I have within that cheat sheet, I have about 225 personal values. So effectively, once you've been able to carry out this set of questions and assessment for yourself, if you are stuck in terms of being able to actually define exactly what it is that you want to call your values, you can look to those cheat sheet, 225 personal values that you can walk through. And once you're able to work with that, look, I'm sure you'll be able to come up with what I call your minimum of 5 and maximum and no more than 10 core personal values. And very, very important, because tomorrow we're going to dig deeper in the whole experience of your personal values. And why are we going to dig deeper? Because we really want you to be able to experience the power of these personal values. These personal values define the brand you. So we need to get your brand on point. We need to get your brand right from the word get-go. Once you can get your brand right, look, everything is going to fall in place. Everything is going to fall in place. You're going to experience the full power of this particular aspect. Now, I'm broadcasting this also on Facebook. So if you're watching this and you've not been able to get the you've not been able to get the workbook, it's pretty simple. You have not registered. So please, I'm going to leave a link right under, probably in the comments to this video, where you can sign up. I actually had a more senior person have a look at the workbook, and the one person was like, hey, Tola, this workbook is actually something you can sell on its own. But no, I'm not selling this. I'm not giving this out. I'm not selling it. I'm basically giving it out free. It's part of what we're going to be using over the course of this 31 days. So I look forward to you being able to join me today. This concludes the live broadcast that we're going to be having for everybody else. One of the things which I am doing to reward early decision makers is that, look, for the next 5 days, we're going to be having a Q&A session right after we complete the live broadcast. So basically what's going to happen is we're going to end the live broadcast on Facebook, and I'm going to continue the rest of the conversation with the rest of everybody on the Zoom. So if you can still join us, like I said, this is a way in which I'm rewarding early decision makers, people who join in and sign in, so they get the opportunity of being able to spend a bit more time with me once we complete today for the next 5 days. So we're going to have the opportunity of talking through today's assignments. We're going to have the opportunity of being able to answer whatever specific questions that they have that they need addressed. So thank you very much. I hope you guys will be able to join us on the inside. at the workplace, on the inside at the workplace multipliers Facebook group, where we all come together and we all share a lovely time in terms of our learning experiences. Thank you very much, and thanks very much for joining me. Look forward to having you on the inside. Okay, so